Building a compact, small form factor gaming PC to use as a living room console replacement has been a goal of mine for some time. Today, I'm excited to share a fully capable mini gaming PC that I put together. While it's not the most budget-friendly or practical system to have, the challenge of acquiring the components and assembling a PC in this form factor made for a fun and rewarding project. To start, I built around the Ryzen 5 5600X, a CPU that I recently upgraded from in my GPU test system. Originally part of my personal rig over a year ago, this 6-core 12-thread processor remains an excellent budget choice, typically priced around $120 new as of late 2024. To house the Ryzen 5, I'm using an ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming ITX motherboard, which I picked up open box on Facebook Marketplace about a year ago for $100. While I've used it a few times since, it's mostly been in storage waiting for the right project, this build. It's a solid ITX board featuring built-in Wi-Fi and 2 M.2 slots, making it an ideal foundation for this compact system. One of the most crucial aspects of planning a mini build is choosing the right case. For this system, I went with the A10 MATX small form factor case, which is sold under various names by different vendors on Amazon and AliExpress. I picked up the silver model for $33 on Amazon. Although it technically supports MATX motherboards, using our ITX board provides even more room for cable management. With a capacity of 7.3 liters, the case is comparable in size to a small form factor Dell Optiplex, making it fairly similar in dimensions to something like a PS5. For the power supply, I had to choose a 1U Flex form factor unit. Options in this category are somewhat limited, but I found a 500 watt modular model from Apevia for $50 on Amazon. To keep the Ryzen 5 5600X cool, I selected the ID Cooling IS40XT low profile cooler for $27. With a height of just 47mm, it fits comfortably inside our case. I am optimistic that this cooler will perform adequately in managing CPU thermals. For storage, I chose the Silicon Power UD90 Gen 4 NVMe SSD, which costs $53 on Amazon. With 1TB of storage, it's plenty for my needs, as I don't plan to download more than a few large games at a time on this system. For RAM, I went with a 32GB kit of Silicon Power DDR4 running at 3200MHz. These are simple no-frill sticks without big heat spreaders or RGB, but they were available for just $43 and offer excellent value and performance at the price point. The GPU that I selected for this build is the MSI RTX 3056GB low profile model, which I picked up a few months ago new for $170. I view this card as more of a placeholder since I plan to eventually upgrade to something like a low profile RTX 4060 for better performance at higher resolutions. The RTX 3056GB is inferior to the standard RTX 3050 in most aspects, and neither is known for exceptional value. However, the low-profile version has some redeeming qualities. A compact design, a very low TDP at just 70 watts, no need for external power, and support for newer NVIDIA features like DLSS upscaling. While its raw performance puts it on par with something like the 5-year-old GTX 1660 Super, the RTX 3050 6GB should meet my needs for now, as I'll mainly be gaming at 1080p, which is perfectly fine for this system. To complete the build, I added a white CPU power cable extension I already had on hand since the included cable wasn't long enough to reach the motherboard header from the power supply. I also purchased an Arctic P8 Slim 80mm fan, which I mounted using small Velcro pads in the front of the case to improve airflow and provide additional cool air intake. Altogether, the build cost me just over $600. It's certainly not great value if you're looking to build a similar system yourself. In most cases, I'd recommend sticking to the standard form factor to get more bang for your buck. However, for me, this compact build takes up minimal space in my living room and does exactly what I need it to do. To test it out, I ran a few in-game benchmarks and titles I'm likely to play. My goal was to achieve 60 FPS or better at 1080p with mostly medium settings, leveraging DLSS when necessary. The results were solid, and the system performed well within my expectations. In Cyberpunk 2077 at the medium settings in native 1080p, I saw an average frame rate of 76 FPS after driving around Night City for a while. The visuals look good, and the temperatures were better than I expected, even with the case's side panel on. In Red Dead Redemption 2, I set the graphics slider to balanced, using mostly medium settings at 1080p native. This resulted in a smooth 66 FPS average, with the game maintaining an appealing visual quality. In Hogwarts Legacy, using the medium preset at native 1080p, the frame rate ranged from the low 50s to the upper 70s, averaging 63 FPS overall. Gameplay felt smooth and visually satisfying for the most part. In Baldur's Gate 3, running at 1080p medium settings, I observed frame rates in the mid-50s in intensive areas with lots of NPCs. During cutscenes and in less demanding environments, the frame rate jumped 15 to 20 FPS higher. Even during a worst-case scenario involving multiple explosions, the percentile lows remained stable at 28 and 29 FPS, which means major frame drops will be extremely rare in almost any situation. Lastly, in the Black Myth Wukong benchmark tool, I chose to enable DLSS, setting it to quality to boost performance at medium settings. The run concluded with an average of exactly 60 FPS. DLSS upscaling preserved most of the graphical fidelity, resulting in a solid test run. Overall, these results aren't exactly groundbreaking, but they do demonstrate that the RTX 3050 6GB is still capable of handling most intensive titles at 1080p with medium settings, and DLSS can help when additional performance is needed. While the RTX 4060 may not be everyone's favorite GPU, a low-profile version could be a viable upgrade for this build in the future. With the current power supply and CPU headroom, I might revisit this mini PC in the future to compare the performance improvements when and if I throw in that 4060. This video is primarily to share the personal mini build I've been working on. The last few months of 2024 have been hectic, but I aim to release another video or two before the year ends. Looking ahead, I have plenty of content ideas and projects lined up for the new year. If you'd like to follow along, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, feel free to drop any questions or suggestions in the comments. Thanks for watching.